Hey everybody, just got back from taking my engagement photos and I figured it would be an awesome time to do our second pre-recorded lesson for the week. So today is, when you're watching this, I believe it's Thursday I'm going to cheat, sorry, Thursday the 25th. And this week we've been spending a lot of time talking about all the positives that have surrounded Rome becoming an empire, right? And really, the one person that we focused on is Augustus Caesar, rightfully so. I mean, the guy was emperor for over 40 years and did an outstanding job and left Rome way better than when he found it, right? And I think if we tell the story from that perspective, we're missing out on one key piece. When you have somebody who has complete control like this and gives themselves dictator for life powers, that's fine as long as there's somebody who deep down is a not corrupt, outstanding, I don't know, maybe just unselfish human being like Augustus. But unfortunately, we can't guarantee that's going to happen every time, right? And the problem is that it basically is like a coin flip, because once they're put into that position, it's very difficult to get them out. And what do I mean by this? There are a few people that are very, very not distantly related from Augustus Caesar who will take over after his death. And they're going to show us exactly what can happen if the wrong person is put into this princeps or emperor position. And who am I talking about? Well, the first person who took over after Augustus Caesar's death's name was Tiberius. Now, Tiberius was actually in power for almost 20 years, but he wasn't seen very favorably. Even though he did raise a lot of money through taxes, he also didn't spend any time in Rome. It was because he didn't like being there. He thought it was too busy for him, and quite frankly, it was a lot easier to tax people when you didn't have to see their faces every day. So he got out of there. But where things really, really start to go south is with this guy. Now, his full name is actually the same as Julius Caesar. It's Gaius. But he's known to today in history as Caligula. And that actually means translated, it's little soldier boots, because he used to have a little military uniform when he was a boy. Caligula was an absolute psycho. And when he came into power at a very young age of about 23, 24 years old, people thought that he was going to be somebody who was going to be around for decades and decades and decades, just like Augustus was. And it actually only ended up being 1,400 days total. He would end up being stabbed, much like Julius Caesar was, but instead of having the senators do it, his own guard troops were the ones that did it. And there were a lot of really weird things that Caligula did. One of the most famous instances is that he actually named his horse a consul. And I know what you're thinking. Wow, what kind of a weirdo? You must be nuts to think that it's okay to name one of your pets essentially a consul. Well, a lot of people think that it might not have actually been that he was crazy, and that is that he hated the Senate and he thought that the government in Rome was a joke besides him, saying that, well, honestly, the position of consul means so little that I could have my horse do it rather than somebody who's a person. I don't know what the story is on this one, but I can tell you that after being in power for 1,400 days and getting cut down the way he did, to the point where they almost thought about killing his entire family just to make sure that he wasn't going to take control, or anybody in his family wouldn't take control. Yeah, they definitely didn't like him. By the way, in case you were wondering, if you've seen pictures of Augustus before, this is Augustus's grandson. And you can probably really see the resemblance here, especially in this statue. Now, that's not to say that everybody was always wrong, because right afterwards, we actually have somebody who takes over for Caligula who does a really, really darn awesome job and brings Rome back into Britain permanently this time. So as we'll see, it wasn't like Augustus was the only one that had the leadership qualities to do this. It does happen again and again where we see somebody who really has that unselfish leadership style. But after Claudius, unfortunately, this is not going to last. And it's going to come crashing down with this guy here. And I love this computer generated image of him because they find a way to make him look so evil and bratty. And that's because I believe it's the best way to describe him. This is Nero. And Nero, if you take a look, you can maybe see a resemblance here. This is Caligula's nephew. Now, Nero is known for two things. One, he's known for being in control during the worst fire in Roman history. The second thing that he's known for is killing his own mother. Now, neither of these things are legends. Both of them happened. Especially with his mother, he actually had to try and have her crushed in a boat. And then when that failed, he had her just killed normally. Now, Nero also, after the fire, thought about what he could do to blame somebody else. And he found this new religion called Christianity, where there were followers in Rome that people didn't understand and were afraid of. And he blamed them for the fire. And what would happen was, rather than have them go up in the Colosseum and do gladiator events, he actually would just have them thrown to the lions and the animals that were there as food for people to watch. Didn't even give them a chance to fight back. Now it gets to the point where he's actually declared an enemy of the state and has to take his own life. But he is so unanimously, meaning hated by everyone, he's so unanimously hated that they completely try to wipe out their family. The Augustans, Caligulas, any of those people that have that blood relation, they want them out of power. They never want them to come back. Now, there are going to be some times where we see people that are going to come back in, and they are going to do a pretty fantastic job. Especially, like, a great example is, I didn't put him up here, but let's take a look. Specific example is a guy by the name of Hadrian. He's going to make Hadrian's Wall up in Britain. But what ends up happening in the end is we have one last Roman emperor that I really think kind of sets the stage for what we're going to talk about next week, and that's its decline. There was a gentleman by the name of Commodus. Now, his father is known as one of the brightest people to ever be Roman emperor. In fact, it's very rare to have it go from father to son throughout tradition. Usually what happens is that the father will adopt somebody that is usually a distant blood relation, and then they'll be the ones that take over. Commodus was actually the blood son of the previous emperor, Marcus Aurelius. And Commodus ended up being a complete disaster. Most notably, if you can tell, he's got a lion's helmet on. One of the things that he really liked to do was to participate in the gladiator games. Now, think about this. This would be like if former President Donald Trump, current President Joe Biden, or even former President Barack Obama decided, you know what? I love watching sports so much. I am going to start at quarterback in the Super Bowl. No, you don't see that, right? And that's exactly how the Romans saw this guy too. And rather than spend any time doing what he needed to do to actually protect people and protect the empire, he's going to run around playing games, going to theater, doing things that are not going to help the Roman people at all. Essentially, he's just going to chase his own vanity, try to get fame that way. And as with Caligula, it's going to end up getting him killed. Now, as we're going to see, starting into next week, we're going to talk about the years 200 to 300 because Rome goes through what's called the 3rd century crisis. There really isn't anybody who steps up that has that leadership style of Augustus or Claudius for probably a good 150 years, at least not for a really prolonged period of time. So what ends up happening is that people are constantly fighting. There are many assassinations, but in the end, what happens is there's no unified front to continue to expand Rome. And as we know, Rome's economy is built on expanding. If it stops expanding, it starts to wither away. And in the end, we're going to see somebody come up with an idea to try to keep the empire together by splitting it apart. But we'll get to that probably Monday. All right, why don't we hop on over? Go ahead and take a look at your homework assignment, and we'll get you on your way for that. So today, oh, weird. I thought I had my classroom up. I apologize for that, everybody. Ooh, still pretty chilly from those pictures. It was a nice snowy day out, pretty for pictures, but definitely not a warm one. Not like it looked like it was going to be anyway. Okay. And today's Thursday the 25th. All right. So I'm going to ask that you finish the rest of the Age of Augustus chapter, which is going to be 112 through 117. And you've got 4 questions. I think there's at least one page that has a complete map on it. So you're really only reading about 4 pages. Okay. Got any questions? You know how to reach me. But otherwise, I'll let you go. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Make good choices. And don't forget to do that weekly assessment when it comes out at 2:58 p.m. today. All right, everybody. Adios.